Hello, today we're going to cover a topic on a microbe that has been getting a lot of great press lately by the name of Akkermansia muciniphila. At the end of this video, we're hoping that you're going to understand what it is, why it's important, how we measure it in the body, and then what we can do to grow more of it within ourselves and create a more hospitable environment to develop more Akkermansia in our body. So firstly, what is Akkermansia muciniphila? So it's a gram-negative, non-pathogenic or non-disease-causing microbe found naturally within the human gut system. We can learn a lot from its name, actually. But the mucinophilia part of the species is very indicative. So mucin is better going to be known as mucus, but it is part of a normal, healthy digestive tract. And then philia is going to be the Latin root for loving. So we know that Akkermansia muciniphilia loves mucus. It actually eats it as a food source. What's very interesting is it is also going to be very important in maintaining that mucus layer, even though it's using it as a food source. So we'll discuss how it does that and why it's important as well. So all this good press that Akkermansia has been getting is because when they look at studies testing its levels in the body and association with certain things, they're finding a lot of really good information. So it's associated with lower rates of obesity, lower rates of cardiovascular disease, prevention of type 2 diabetes, and then just a general marker of metabolic fitness. And then because of its action on that mucus layer, it can actually help prevent leaky gut. So Akkermansia lives in our GI system in that thin mucus layer between the GI and lumen, or the center of the digestive tract where all the partially digested food is moving through, and the GI epithelium, which is going to be the thin layer of cells that is going to be used to basically absorb the nutrients from our food so we can get subsistence from it. Here is where that Akkermansia is going to chew on glycoproteins, so that's what forms mucus. It's a combination of proteins and glucose molecules attached to it. And as it breaks those down, it's going to produce a lot of short-chain fatty acids. Some of those common ones are going to be butyrate, acetate, and propionate. We've even, here at MD Custom, made enemas containing those fatty acids that can be used to rapidly improve GI health and reduce GI inflammation. So it stands to reason that if we can start producing them within our own body, we're going to be maintaining gut health just endogenously within ourselves. So that's the ultimate goal. The other thing that this mucus breakdown by Akkermansia is going to cause is it's going to cause globlet cells to differentiate from stem cells within the GI system. And these globlet cells are actually what produce the mucus itself. So that's the idea with, even though Akkermansia is eating mucus, it is going to cause the body to produce more mucus and create all these short-chain fatty acids that are going to be very integral in reducing GI inflammation and then feeding other good bacteria. So it's a really important cornerstone species. Even though it only lives in a tiny part of the GI system, it has a huge impact on the rest of the health of the gut microbiome. So the people that can benefit most from improving this gut integrity are going to be anyone with a lot of gut dysbiosis. So our lipopolysaccharide containing organisms, which everyone is going to have at least a small amount in their body. Classic examples are going to be E. coli, Campylobacter, Klebsiella. If we have those integrity issues, some of their products are going to find their way into our bloodstream and really activate our immune cells. Another population I think of is anyone that suffers from a lot of food allergies, because the food itself will find its way into our circulation and activate a lot of those surveillance systems, including a lot of immune cells, and result in inflammation throughout the body. Another really important way that Akkermansia can impact some of the important disease states that we were looking at is it's associated with an increased level of incretin release, which is a hormone produced by the GI system. One of the most famous members of this class is going to be GLP-1, which is the exact target of a lot of the injectable weight loss products that are getting a lot of attention right now. So it stands to reason that if we could build up some of those levels produced within our body naturally, we can help prevent type 2 diabetes, progression, cardiovascular disease, reduce body weight, in addition to maintaining that gut integrity to reduce inflammation throughout the body. So I'm going to assume that you have bought into the fact that Akkermansia is important and has a lot of health benefits. The next question is, how do you know if you have enough of it in your body and how do we measure that? So there are a lot of stool testing kits out there offered by various companies that can give you an idea of good bacteria, bad bacteria, the ratio between them. The one that I like most, especially if we're talking Akkermansia, is going to be Microbiome Labs Biome FX kit. What really makes it unique is they use this whole genome sequencing technology. So they're looking at data points that are going to give us a lot more specificity in terms of what bacteria we're looking at. And their sampling procedure is also going to be a little bit more robust. Akkermansia is famously either under or over-reported because it lives in that thin mucosal layer. So depending on how they're sampling, they might give you a number that really isn't indicative of how much we're actually seeing within the body. So if you're looking for kind of, in my opinion, the best kit out there at BiomeFX is very evidence-based and actionable. And when we help patients analyze their results, we can do a lot more helpful things and have a lot more nuance in terms of plans that we come up with either diet or supplement lifestyle changes. So next, what do you do if you have found out that you have low or undetectable levels of Akkermansia in your system? So with all the good press it's been getting, there's a lot of products in the probiotic market that include Akkermansia. One thing that gives me a little bit of pause is because we know that it's an obligate anaerobe, meaning that it requires no oxygen in order to survive. The idea of putting it in a capsule and then getting it to market and in a person and maintaining that no oxygen environment, so it's actually a live bacteria that can spread within the body, I'm a little doubtful of that. There are some really good evidence for postbiotics, which is a much bigger subject. We might cover that in a future video. But thankfully, we can do a lot to feed the bacterium within ourselves. So Akkermansia finds its way in the system primarily through breast milk. So we start building that up when we're very young. Another big argument in favor of breastfeeding. And what's nice is even if your levels are undetectable, kind of like how the antimicrobial wipes say they can kill 9.99999% of bacteria, those few surviving members can always be magnified and built back up. So one of the best ways we can do that is actually through diet and food. So there is a bunch of polyphenols. So these are going to have a lot of antioxidant activity, so reducing oxidative stress and inflammation. And as we know, oxygen is going to be bad for Akkermansia. So if we can reduce the stress that brings on, we're going to create a much better environment for it to live in. So these polyphenols, it's going to be a lot of our fruits and vegetables that are like red, blue, purple colored. So think of a lot of the berries. So strawberries, blueberries, cranberries, blackberries, also black beans, and red cabbage are all going to be fantastic sources of these polyphenols that we can use to feed the good bacteria, including Akkermansia. So all those polyphenols are going to be a great way to reduce oxidative stress and create a better neighborhood for Akkermansia. The next thing that we can do is basically give it something to eat and somewhere to live. So we know it eats the mucin layer and lives in the mucin layer. So if you have leaky gut, there's not much of an environment for Akkermansia to really set up shop. We've got a few concepts and ways that we can help address leaky gut. Honestly, the most important step that we consider here at MD Custom, it's a great idea to do a food intolerance test, because oftentimes food is really what's going to be breaking down that gut integrity, especially the mucus layer. So if we're continually eating the foods that are causing that issue, we're never going to make forward progress in building it up. We really like a kit from KBMO. It can look at 176 different foods, and what I really like about their particular kit is it will grade things in terms of how inflammatory they are, which as a consumer makes it a lot more usable, versus knowing, okay, I reacted to all of these, so I'm just going to cut them out indefinitely. That's not realistic, but if you knew, hey, this one is 3 times more inflammatory than something I love that is a low grade, then you can really work that into your lifestyle and be a lot more effective in making that part of your daily change for the rest of your life. The other thing that KBMO kit will look at is 4 different markers in the blood, where if they are present is a good indication that we have leaky gut. So it'll look at proteins that are part of that tight adhesion molecule between the epithelial cells in the GI system. So if we're finding those within the blood, that means that there's holes somewhere. The other things it'll look at are lipopolysaccharides, so that very inflammatory endotoxin that we were talking about earlier, and then candida, which we tend to have a lot of with GI dysbiosis. So if we have done that kit, cut out the foods that we don't need, and identify that we have leaky gut, we have another great procedure for basically resolving the leaky gut and preventing it from reoccurring. So if we know we have leaky gut, one of my best recommendations for fixing it is doing a total gut restoration. There are a lot of kits out there. The one I prefer is Microbiome Labs Total Gut Restoration Kit. Combines 3 different pillars and concepts of good gut health and ways to tackle it with supplements that I view to be very important. So the first thing that they do is they include a probiotic, spore-based probiotic blend with good bacillus species that are going to be a good cornerstone and help create an environment that's going to be good for fostering the development of other bacteria, including Akkermansia, that are important at low levels within the body. The other thing that really makes it unique and why I kind of steer towards that for the most part is it has a bacillus species in there called HU58. It's a subspecies, and it actually doesn't live in the body very well. But what it does do is while it's going through the body is it is very good at basically targeting pathogenic species. So if we have a big overgrowth of a lot of our gram-negative species or candida or something that we really need to bring down just to create real estate to have good gut health and a normal flora, it does a very good job of basically tamping them down and making the space for good bacteria to flourish. The next thing that it will do is it has prebiotics, so good source of fiber. And then the third pillar that I view as making this the most effective kit for total gut restoration is a product called Mega Mucosa. So it combines immunoglobulins to help reduce inflammation in the GI tract, amino acids, so we're giving the body plenty of precursors for being able to make more mucus. And then it uses this proprietary citrus-based polyphenolic blend. So we're basically adding a lot of those polyphenols that we were talking about in ways that we can feed it with diet. So in essence, what we're going to be doing is increasing our short-chain fatty acid production in the GI system, rebuilding that mucus layer very quickly. So within 90 days, someone can go from having a very disrupted, poor gut to having one that has basically all the pieces it needs and a lot of resilience. So the next time we have a disruption, whether it be from antibiotic use or food poisoning or just general illness, it's going to bounce back a lot more effectively, and we're not just going to fall back into leaky gut again. So at the end of this, I hope you understand what Akkermansia is, why it's important, how we can measure it, and then also what we can do to build it back up or maintain its levels. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. We'll always address those. Or if you're interested in starting a kit that has their whole genome sequencing stool testing or food intolerance testing or the total gut restoration program, feel free to contact us here at MD Custom. Thank you again.